Are you ready? All right. Welcome, everyone, to this week's Rotary meeting. Sorry, John. Let me ask Nast if she could give us the invocation.
Yes. All right, let's join me in the Rotary prayer. Open our eyes that we may see. Open our ears that we may hear. Touch our hearts that we may love. Clear our minds that we may think. Strengthen our hands that we may work. Amen.
Okay. Got a good group here today. Glad to see everybody. A couple of things we got going on. Next week, we're calling this our membership summit. We only have a few people that are going to be joining us down at Trace, but everyone here is invited to come. So what we'd like to do is get a show of hands. Or we're going to do a pass around sheet?
No, we're going to do a
show of hands of how many people will be in next week's meeting. I will be there.
Meaning we won't be at the Flame next week, but we will be at Carolina Trace Country Club instead.
Same
So-
time of day?
Same bat time, that's it.
We're doing lunch over there?
That's right.
Lunch.
12 noon at Carolina Trace.
Can we do it again so we get a good count?
Yeah. Are you counting?
4, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12.
And President Doug, I'll send it out in the bulletin or a special announcement rather to
Okay.
make sure everybody knows, but yeah.
Right now, I'm not going to reserve more than 30 seats.
Yeah, that probably is. We've want to remind everybody. I think we are sending a sign-up sheet on the Christmas party. It's going to be December 14th, 6 p.m. It's at the Hawkins House. We will not have a lunch meeting here, but if you hadn't been to a Christmas party, it's real informal. We bring a dish and really have a good time. It's a great evening of fellowship. We'll be out of there by 8:30, and you get home
And certainly, bring your spouse. Doug's right, I'm going to send a sign-up sheet around. So I put my name and number attending is 2. That's the total number attending, myself and my spouse. And so if you can, certainly we need a head count, but the information's at the top of the page here. And there's plenty of blanks there on the front and back, so we know that you'll be attending the event.
And John, I'll be telling everybody what's going to be the theme and everything. That'll help them know
Yeah.
what's going on. Okay?
Sounds good.
As time goes on.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
this is really Yvonne's party, so
Then it's going to be great.
Halloween.
it's going to be good. The food's delicious.
Leftover cost.
Now,
I'm gonna sign on if I gotta.
Jim, please.
We're just going to harass the
Good, brag on that.
today. This is our 2-day commitment for Rotary bell ringing. Okay? And sign up and put your phone number on it, please.
The dates are December.
Let's see, December 6th, 5th and 6th, Tuesday, December 5th,
Tuesday
and Wednesday,
5,
December 6th.
Wednesday 6.
Yep.
Okay? And the other thing is, I know you're all very excited, but in the corner next to Mr. Stone are your pots of gold raffle tickets.
Woohoo!
And Mr. Gilliland, because he's such a voracious seller of tickets, has envelope 1 and envelope 2. So I want to make sure that Robert gets his full quota. Basically what I did was I took what you sold last year and gave those numbers to you again. And thank you all very much. You did a wonderful job.
Jim, I have to ask you, you made a comment to me that you were going to say how easy it is to plan ahead on how you're going to finance this, because there's some people out there like me, John Ransberger, we don't like bugging people to buy tickets, so we just give them the money. Just give them the money. If you're one of those people, you can buy 1 ticket every what?
Okay, if in fact you don't, as the good president has said, you don't like harassing people or begging people to spend the money, you have one other option. You can write a check like Mr. Ramsberger does. He doesn't want to be annoyed, so he makes his wife write me a check for his tickets right out the door, then he's done with it. The other option is, if it's not convenient to write a $200 check, on the first week, bring a $20 bill every other week and one ticket. And over the period of time, you will take care of your 10-ticket obligation in a less onerous manner than writing a check immediately for $200.
Right, $10 a week.
Yeah. And it's absolutely amazing that how supportive your friends and neighbors, fellow people in church or whatever are if you say, I have Jonesboro raffle tickets, and they really, people appreciate what we do as an entity, and they are very, very supportive. And I'm sure Robert can attest to that also.
When do you start drawing out the numbers of the tickets?
The first meeting in January, we start the first meeting in January. We do $100 a week for 26 weeks, and then the last week we do 1,000, 2 500s, 2 250s, and a 100. And the ticket, we start from the bottom up, do the 100, et cetera, et cetera. And your ticket is available, is put back in for every drawing. So for the 31 times we draw, your ticket, whoever you sold it to or whatever, will have the opportunity each and every time to be a winner.
Thanks, Jim.
You're welcome.
Hey, Laura, would you do the Sergeant at Arms report?
I would be delighted to. Thank you, Mr. President. All right, good afternoon. Presiding as Sergeant is myself, and I want to introduce some guests that we have this afternoon. We have several visitors who are guests of the club this afternoon. I have the pleasure to be sitting around both of them, I think. Tim Emmert. And warm welcome to you as well as Kevin Smith, guest of Crystal Lambert. Kevin. So thank you for joining us this afternoon. We've had a few announcements already. I have a couple of other announcements, I think, from John. Do you have something for me?
I just made the announcement, so I'm cool. Thank you.
Okay, you're good with that. How about Yvonne? We have an announcement from you.
I do. I asked John to send out an email about the Farm City Ladies Luncheon, and I hope all of you had a chance to look at that, because that's been reinstituted the last couple of years, because Susan Conlon left and we couldn't do it any longer. But now that we have a new farm, family consumer science person in-house, then we can, bring out the ladies' luncheon. But anyhow, what I wanted to do was tell you that we're still needing recipes. And if you or your spouse would like to submit a recipe for the cookbook, then please send it to me as an attachment, and I will forward it on to the Extension Center. Now for the cookbook, and also to attend, you get for $10. But you have to go to Rhonda at the Extension Center in order to get your ticket to go to that. Now on the, that's Farm City Week for North Carolina, and I think it's kind of isn't it a national thing? Yeah, but for Lee County, the Farm City Banquet's going to be on November the 20th. And that everybody can come to that. It's a night meeting, social, starts at 5:30. The program starts at 6 o'clock. For $8, you can attend with that. That's the Monday before Thanksgiving, so all of you should still be in town, and hopefully you would want to attend. Anyhow, if you have any questions, call the Extension Center or call me. I'll be happy to answer all those questions.
Thank you, Yvonne. Wonderful. What other announcements do we have that didn't make it, Ed?
This is the last day I'm selling cherry vehicles, which is this Saturday from 6 to 10. I will be there from 8 to 9 selling tickets, so we can get some more money. But I have some tickets here, and my wife's out pre-selling pre-buying right now, so you can go out. Well, no, and then you can pick it up Saturday afternoon. You don't have to be there from 6 to 10. So just thought I'd
$5,
say-
$5. Got charity sale. Yes, sir, Angie.
Okay, this is the last time I'm going to make this announcement this year, so you'll all be happy. The Shared Abundance dinner for the Lee County Arts Council is Sunday, November 12th, from 12 to 4 at the VFW Post, 5631. Now, this is the Arts Council's one real fundraiser during the year. And what you get is you have homemade soup, salad, fresh bread, and you get to choose a locally made pottery bowl for yourself. So you get a real local pottery bowl, and they're very nice bowls, believe me. They're probably the nicest in the world.
That's selling right there.
Because it's local pottery, I mean, it's a big deal in this area.
Yeah, pottery is very important to Sanford. But the Lee County Arts Council, supports the Lee County Orchestra, Heart of Carolina Jazz, and quite a number of other local organizations. We also provide some support to the Temple Theater, although that's kind of in a twisted way because they get direct grants from the state as well. So it's kind of a little twisted, but we do support them.
So come support the arts.
Okay, and I have tickets with me today. They're $15 a piece. You can also buy them at the door, and that's Sunday, November 12th, from 12 to 4. There's entertainment. The Temple Teens and Festival Singers will be entertaining you. See, I have these little flyers to pass out to remind you. Unfortunately, I won't be here next week with tickets, but you can get them at the door if you don't get them today. Okay, I'm gonna pass these guys out.
Thank you so much. What other announcements have we missed? Any other hands for me, please? Then let's brag. All right, we have our very first brag.
Okay,
It's a big one, folks.
Yeah, $3, because this Saturday we're celebrating 3 birthdays up at my daughter's. Next Tuesday is both my daughter's and my grandson's birthday, but because of the celebration, we're celebrating my birthday on Sunday also. But my daughter and I kind of take short shrift to the grandson, so he gets to pick the meal anyway.
There you go. That's 3 great brags right here. Great way to start it off. Thank you. Happy birthday, Neil. What other brags do we have?
I have a
saw the
brag.
dollar.
Who knows who the #1 team in college football is right now? The University of Georgia. All right. Bulldogs. All right. Bulldogs.
I have a dollar for the Bulldogs.
That just depends on what polling we're going to play out of.
Bulldogs.
All right,
There are 2 more dollars.
I just had to fish out an extra $1 because Ohio State did come back from the dead and beat Penn State.
Okay.
And should they run the table, Georgia's going to be out of luck. So I'm just saying.
Fair.
I do want to spend $1 because our Sergeant at Arms didn't give me a chance to introduce my friend Kevin Smith. You're going to hear from Tim Emmert here in a little while. He's going to talk about beer, which is going to have everybody's attention. But I want to brag on Kevin, and specifically I want to brag on Kevin's shoes. And that may sound funny. Kevin is an exterminator who services the entire region, from Goldsboro to Durham to where else? Fayetteville.
Chapel Hill, Hope Mills, Rayford, Fayetteville. I even go down to my old stomping ground where I grew up down in Columbus County, Whitefield, those areas, Myrtle Beach.
So he services everywhere, including right here in Sanford, and that's where I met him a couple years ago. But he came out to the house. We've got the new house, and we decided let's go ahead and get an exterminator in here and get on a contract and do all that.
Tell him where you messaged me at. Facebook.
Oh yeah, I hit him on Facebook today.
I'm available anywhere.
So he shows up to provide exterminator service at the house, and my wife and I are trying to be as green and as eco-friendly as we can. And I knew I had talked to Kevin, and he told me they use nothing but green and environmentally friendly pesticides and things like that. So I called him, and the rates were good. He came out, but he shows up to the house, and he's dressed, and he's got some slim cut pants, and he's got these highly shined brown shoes on. And I'm expecting, him to have a crew with him or something. But no, he actually came and provided exterminator service. And he's like, all this is oils and rosemary and oregano and this list of herbs. And he did that, and my wife and I, we laughed about his shoes the entire time he was there at the house doing it. And then when he got done, we realized that the house smelled like a restaurant because of all the herbs and everything in there. And it lasted for 3 or 4 days. So I'm thinking instead of having him come out quarterly, I'm gonna have him come back about every 2 weeks just to freshen the house up. So it was that much fun. I can't recommend it any more highly.
That is a tremendous brag. Thank you for that dollar. I see another dollar.
No, this is a $10 break.
Oh God.
Oh boy, that's got a 1 and a 0. My lord, that's a... All right, for that you have the stage. For that you have the stage. Okay.
I know I was down in South Carolina last week doing some videoing, and JJ, John and Jeff.
Oh, the double J. J squared.
Yeah, so they always make sure if I leave my camera here, I get some good footage on the video. So you know, like I was trying to find out which one is Steven Spielberg or Stephen King or whatever. But they do such a wonderful job getting the word out. So I wanted to do a $10 brag on the JJ and the D.
It's a hot brag right there.
But that's not missing more meetings though.
That's right, don't be thinking that they're gonna take over for you.
Yeah, but you know what? I was on the same campus. I'm not going to call his name because we got Dr. Bud here. I already talked to him about it. The campus was so pretty, I wanted to enroll in college again.
There's the thought.
No.
What other brags do I have? That's a hard one to follow. That's $10 whole dollars. Yes, sir.
I want to brag
Brag
on.
for this gentleman.
I want to brag on Bud's shirt. Y'all may not know this, but Nike made a misprint. They only printed 10 of those shirts, and they realized they were printing red instead of blue. He has a collector's
I'm trying to bring knowledge to the masses with the right color and the right Carolina, who, by the way, will beat Georgia next week.
Better be a brag on that one. All right, shall I turn it back over to President Doug?
You might be eating something.
Last
You don't need more dollars
opportunity,
first?
That's right.
No, we'll see
All right.
about that, but.
Back to President Doug.
Thank you so much. Well, now I'm going to just let Chris introduce us.
All right. My speaker today, I met Tim, about a year ago?
About that.
So about a year ago, and I think whether he knows it or not, he might be the most talked about man in Sanford that nobody quite knows what his real name is. This brewery project that he and Dave have been working on has been a long time coming, and there's been more stories and more mystery surrounding it than a little bit. But Tim is here to tell us exactly when we can expect the first beer to roll out of Sanford down on Wicker Street. He's going to have to do his presentation sitting down. He's a little hobbled right now, but if you would all give your attention, my friend Tim Emmer.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we've been working hard. I've got a temporary thing where I'm shaped more like a C than an L. That's about to get fixed. So yeah, thank you first of all for bringing me in today and giving me a great meal. I love the fact that when I come to Rotary, people are always just this way. They're kind of joking with each other. It's great community. It makes what little hair I have stand up on the back of my neck. Because I think this is the way you hope it is with folks in the community, and I really appreciate you letting me be a part of it today. Unfortunately, Chris gave me the big question answer is an exact day for when we're open. I can't tell you that. There's too many things that are out of our hands. But I can say all the equipment's in. As of when I was leaving the brewery, one of the major things is your glycol plumbing, and that's what keeps the fermenters chilled, and that's been installed. Every day something's happening. The other day I walked in and our tin ceiling is all red now instead of black.
and they were supposed to do that, so that's a good thing. Yeah, so I come in yesterday as well, and our glass doors, we have a glass door that separates the brewing area from the taproom area, so that when you walk in off of our double doors, which are over by the parking lot, there's a parking lot in the corner of Cole Street and Steel. If you come off of that area, and you go through those double doors, you look left, you'll be able to see the whole brewery from right there. And that door finally got installed, thank God. These are just, I mean, I'm kind of spinning these things out because that's the sort of things that we're into right now is we're in finishing up. And we're hoping in about 2 weeks we'll be ready to go with brewing, testing the equipment, and then actually brewing beer. At that point, about 2-3 weeks, and then we'll be ready to go and serve. There's a lot of ifs between now and then. There's a lot of things that are not within our control. Can either be a contractor, somebody could have a back issue that has to do things in the brewery. So my best estimate, it'll be about 4 or 5 weeks. At that point, I imagine we'll have about 4 or 5 beers on tap, but we'll be brewing almost every day with the intent of getting the number of beers on tap in the brewery to be between 20 and 30 when we're finally at full strength. We will also offer wine. Our intent is actually to offer, there's a type of Austrian wine that you can, that's popularly served actually on tap. I don't know if anyone's actually, I've had wine on tap. It's kind of an odd concept. You think of beer on tap, you don't think of wine on tap. Wine is something that comes in a bottle with a cork. It takes some getting used to. It's no different than a bottle of wine. But we're going to have some wine on tap. We'll have a cider or two, probably locally produced cider. And that's that. You can follow us on Facebook, right after you're done looking up Kevin. You can, I told him he's got to post a shoe story up there.
I'll put the shoes up.
Yeah, put the shoes up.
I'll put the shoes up.
You can find us on Facebook as well. That's the main way to follow us at the moment. That's where we're posting updates. Every time we have pictures or announcements, that's where everything goes. So you can just look up Hugger Mugger Brewing on Facebook. Even if you don't have an account, you can see the page. Yeah, and I'll stop it there before I ramble on. But if anyone has questions.
You're gonna get plenty of questions.
Yeah, how long have you been brewing beer?
I've been brewing at home for a while, but probably since 2008. It was shortly after we moved to Carthage. My wife bought me my first set of equipment, and I went at it. And I had about 100 styles or different types of beer that I had brewed. But David is really the one with the experience. David is he goes back about 20 years in the food and beverage industry. He's worked at a number of things. He was telling me the other day there's a great bar out in Asheville called the Thirsty Monk, and the Thirsty Monk is known for having a basement that is all Belgian beers. And that's just a rarity. Belgians typically make smaller batches. Their beer isn't as widely distributed. You have to have a taste for that kind of beer as well. And they tried to actually lure David away. He was telling me during the course of this project to come out there and work for them and source their Belgian beers, because that's what he did up for the Raleigh Times, which was originally a newspaper building and then became, over time, a draft house. And he came into there around 2002, maybe. And he helped get there. He transitioned it from just being a bar to being a craft beer bar. And they sent him to Belgium to source the best breweries to bring unique styles back to the Raleigh Times to be served on draft there. And he also oversaw their expansion to become a larger food and beverage restaurant. And after that, he's worked at 2 breweries. Now, one, he ended up at Lone Rider, after that, while he was at Lone Rider, he and his wife had a little boy, and he left that job to try and be closer to home. And then when he and I met, and he decided, we are going to do this thing, he went and applied at Fortnite up in Cary for a job, and he went from working as a part-time person to basically being head of operations in a matter of a few months. He really is able to teach himself a lot of things. He understands his process very well, and is really a very good person to work with. I hope you all get the chance to meet him as well. He was actually going to come here today in my stead if I couldn't stand upright. But instead, it's more important that he's up in the building right now, continuing to put things together and grump about the amount of time we have to do things.
Are you guys gonna be doing any food or just beverage?
No, just beverage. For us, that's going to be a gracious plenty of work.
So eat after you.
Yeah. Oh, I will say, something that doesn't often come to mind for folks, but I was reminded of it. I went to visit a friend up in Connecticut this past summer, and we went to a place called Two Roads Brewing. And Two Roads has this big operation. I mean, it's in a big old factory. It's amazing, and they have these large round tables. And his mother-in-law said, my birthday's coming up. I'd like to go to the brewery. I said, great, love it, let's do it. She packed a picnic lunch. So we went with picnic stuff. I mean, a big basket and plates and all that. Spread out all the meats and cheeses and veggies and everything. And we ate our picnic and just drank beer. We all got samplers and we got a beer of what we liked and just ate. And it's the same thing. I mean, we don't. You can bring in food from the outside. You can order food to the brewery. It doesn't matter. But we did remove a kitchen from our building, and we're not intending to put one back in.
Tim, I have a question.
Yeah.
Will you guys be offering tours and kind of a sample thing to local residents or even people passing through who hear about your business?
Yeah, we will be offering tours. Up till now, we get a lot of folks stopping by, and we've been offering to take people around whenever we can. I think we still do. I just know as we get down to the last few weeks, we're trying as hard as we can to get everything out of our general contractor while they're on site. So the time and attention we have been giving to that may be a little bit less, just for a few weeks.
But once you're open and operational, that would be a normal thing that you do.
Oh yeah, good luck stopping us from talking about craft beer.
First of all, I'm extremely jealous. I would love to be in your shoes, even with all the heartaches and headaches you're experiencing. In a month or so, you'll be grooving out or whatever. Do you need any professional tasters? Because I think
Or amateurs.
We do have a mug club that we put together.
Oh, good idea.
There's a cost attached to it. I didn't realize that people. I got a fair number of people.
Beer.
Yeah. Well, I had a fair number of people who asked, and they're like, "Oh, it costs something." I said, "Yeah, I'm sorry, it does." But you do get something. And one of the things you get is that as we do, tasting panels and competitions, that's the pool of folks we'd like to draw from. It's just because we'd like to have a close relationship. There are people who just really love their craft beer, and they're very knowledgeable about it. And there's a way you can kind of interact with folks who have that depth of knowledge and passion that maybe not everyone enjoys it as much. And so we're trying to make opportunities through that club, which we call the Mug Huggers Club.
Woo! T-shirt. Say that after you had a couple.
You can get a hat.
like 35 years ago when I was about 25, I used to go downtown Cleveland to a place, and we had we met like once a month, and we had like a theme. Every meeting would have a theme. This one would be on animal beers. This one would be on something or other. But you acquired all these points, and after you did your world tour or whatever, you got a nice button-down golf shirt embroidered with the logo on it, beer tour, worldwide beer tour. It's really cool. And I worked hard to get that shirt.
I applaud your efforts.
And I wore it with pride every time I went there after I got it, let me tell you.
Absolutely.
That would be a cool thing, but would really be awesome, be funny. I mean, it really, really get your brain talking. Is have it had something embroidered on the back said, "I promise I am not a drunk. I promise I'm not an alcoholic." Just something that just makes people do a double take and say, conversation. Yeah, gets people talking. Where'd you get your shirt?
Any lagers?
Yes.
Well, we certainly would like to do a Pilsner. Pils is a great style. It's a little bit more hopped than your American style lager, but yes, we'll be doing some lighter beers. One thing to understand, there's a lot of the traditional model for breweries is changing from what it was, and you can see that evidence anywhere where you go to a brewery that started in the 90s or the aughts, whatever the period between 2000 2010 is. A lot of breweries just went out and they looked at what is the what's the open concrete floor slab, open building. I can easily get stuff in there, easily do all the lines and connections. And then, oh yeah, we also have this little tasting room up front. We put up some drywall, and then we got a little bar in there, and we can seat about 25, 50 people. That model, that was the model. People just didn't think of taproom space. It was all about distribution. That model has changed. Now people are saying even like the place that I went, Two Roads, that place was enormous. I could kick a football in there and not hit the other side. It was huge. And the idea is, you're going to have times when there are big events, when you do have a lot of people, and you want to take advantage of that. And that's kind of what we're hoping to do. We have about 7,000 square feet of space inside that building, just for taproom space. That's one thing. The other thing that may or may not change, we're kind of watching it. I'm not sure how this will go. Almost every brewery has a flagship beer, what they call a flagship beer, something you associate with that brewery, right? If it's Highland Brewery, it's Gaelic Ale, right? Gaelic Ale. If it's Foothills Brewing, it might be Hoppium, it might be that's your beer. But increasingly, breweries are kind of going away from the idea of doing a flagship beer. Or if they do one, they do something that they brew a lot of beers, they get enough feedback back that they say, okay, you want to see this one again and again. So you work that into production. But you don't just throw out a beer and say, this is a beer, you're going to like this beer, because it may not work. I mean, that may not jive with people, may not be the best thing. So what you're going to see is that's the sort of approach we'll be taking. We're going to be brewing a lot of different things. There may be some that stick over time, and that's what we'd like to go with. But you're going to see a lot of diversity. You'll go run the gamut from lagers to herbal and fruit beers. So and everything in between. With the wine. With the wine, yes, and the wine. And it won't just be wine on tap. We'll have wine in bottles as well.
Are you going to bottle beer?
We'll do what we call a quarterly bottle release. So we'll do small batches of bottles. Anytime a brewery does a good job with their bottles, they have, typically they just distribute out of the brewery itself. We may use it as an opportunity to get into some other bottle shops that, are put us in front of a new audience. But, our ideal is to just do these small batches, about 500 run of bottles. And it'll be the kind of soft-shouldered wine bottle type with a cork and a little,
They can do growlers as well?
We will do growlers and maybe crowlers. I don't know if we're 100% set on whether or not we're going to do crowlers yet, and I'm sold on what a crowler offers. So the difference between a crowler is a self-sealing can, not self-sealing, but a sealed can of beer, typically about 16 ounces, 16 and 20. And then a growler is a refillable, like the old milk jugs, right? So the problem with growlers is you don't know where they've been. So even if you wash it out really well when it comes to your brewery, you have no idea. You put your beer in there, you seal it up tight, you send it home, someone opens it 2 or 3 days later and say, oh, this beer is disgusting. You just lost a customer because of something that's completely out of your control. So that's why I do like the crowlers. A crowler is a fresh can. I'm not sure about the waste associated with it. I'm not 100% comfortable with that piece of things. And I see a lot of them, and I don't know how bought into that concept people are. I buy them, but
yeah, they're pretty popular.
So maybe to the crowler.
The bad part about cans is it's a can.
Correct.
You know, the best beer comes out of a tap.
Yeah, I can't argue with
Can't get
that.
around it.
Yeah.
And just for everybody's edification, beer is living proof that God loves us and wants us to be happy.
Here, here.
Ben Franklin.
What's your favorite type of
Jim
beer?
Miller.
What do
you like right now?
Seconded by.
Oh, you mean something that's commercially available or just the style?
Just your oatmeal stout, IPA.
Sours.
I really like a route beer,
sours.
a smoke beer, a traditional smoke beer. That's something that we hope to do actually at the brewery. It's a challenge because the very best smoke beers come from Bamberg, Germany, from a brewery called Schlenkerla. I think I said that correctly. Basically, a well-smoked, and they use beechwood chips, and just smoke it lightly, and then they brew a beer with that, and it's Märzen style, a spring beer. And after your first taste, you say, okay, I taste a lot of the smoke, and that's good. And maybe something dark in there. I'm not sure. Maybe it's dark fruit or chocolate or something. And then the second taste, it hits you. It's bacon. And I'm not joking. If you have a Schlenkerla Märzen beer, you taste bacon all the way to the bottom of the pint. And I'm not saying that you're going to want a 6-pack of that. I'm saying it is one of the most delicious things I've ever put in my mouth. And I would love, and I relish the opportunity to do something like that.
One more question, then I'm going to turn it over to our, yes.
Chris, what's Jim's last name?
Gimmer?
Okay.
Can you explain the name Hugger Mugger? I think I've heard it, but I think they need to hear
Oh,
it.
okay, very good. Hugger Mugger means sort of secret or clandestine. We really enjoy the name because it's just sort of, it fits our personality because we're a little bit prankish, David and I. But we like the concept, and then we also really liked the fact that Sanford actually has a Masonic temple building in the downtown area, and we said, oh well, there's what's better? It's already there. It's pre-made for us. There's a secret society, not really secret, but you know, that in our modern day, that's a secret society, right? And so Hugger Mugger means secret or clandestine. It's just, you know, telling secrets with friends over beer. That's essentially the concept of what it is.
Yeah, kind of a segue. Jim and John had a board meeting this week.
It was
without
a
the
mini
board.
board meeting, right?
And,
That's right.
They raised an issue that it might be something worth talking about. We hadn't made any decisions, but instead of having 4 lunch meetings a month, have 3 and do 1 social event in the evening. And it would be open to spouses too.
Of course.
And it might kind of get our juices going with a little different way to get people interested to come to a Rotary meeting. Just kind of curious if anybody has any comments.
It'd be a 5 to 6 meeting, which is a quasi cocktail hour, and it's meant to be social in nature, not a formal meeting with a program and all that.
Count me in.
Yeah.
Family
Rotary.
Well, the issue really is an issue of Rotary International because we're running into a problem internationally and in the U.S. for sure. Younger people are having a very, very difficult time with 4 or sometimes 5 meetings with the quarterly dues that you get into. And this would be a real advantage for that. And there's a number of clubs now that have gone to 2 regular meetings and 2 outside meetings, 1 social, 1 service. So I think it's really worthwhile.
Yeah.
Talk to your fellow board members about it, and we can continue to have that discussion. I'm kind of favorable towards it.
Yeah.
Kind of a good idea.
I think you need to try those kinds of things.
Yeah. You had
Well,
some.
I think I'm going to finish up if there are other announcements or other hands. No? So I've been instructed to announce a birthday and to coordinate a birthday song for this special birthday boy right here. So we're celebrating the birth of Mr. Terry today, and I think if we can all clear our throats. That's right, there was the $10 was already thrown in there, so we're all obligated to sing now and sing happy birthday for this gentleman. Huh? Okay. part of the thrill. $10 I just made for the I have to say. All right, everybody, please, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Terry. Happy birthday to you.
David Spivey's got an
Yeah, I'm gonna have Andy Manhart come up and Crystal Lambert.
Oh, here we go.
And this is a special Rotary Foundation recognition. First of all, I'll start with Chris. You have reached the $1,000 threshold, and you are now a Paul Harris Fellow. So there is. Andy has reached the Paul Harris +1 threshold, which is $2,000 plus. So you have a stone in your on your pen. So congratulations.
Well, thanks to our speaker. Let's give him a big round. Let's see if I could. Would you lead us in the
Sure.
forward test,
Be
please?
glad to, President Doug. You'll join me in the forward test. The things we think, say, or do first. Is it true?
Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Don't forget your tickets.
How many you want to buy?